You got Jody McDonald and John McMullen. Your Mac and Mac Birds 365. Guys, we are aided for the next 15, 20, 25 minutes by our buddy from NJ.com, Chris Franklin, who comes on with us after most Eagles victories and the one loss. He came out after the loss, too, so don't worry about it. Here's the first question for you, Mr. NewJersey.com, which, of course, is where the Giants play. Because I had this debate on social media with a couple people last night. The crowd at kickoff yesterday at Giants Stadium. We know the Eagles are one of the best traveling fan bases in the entire National Football League. Shoot, they took over Arizona, which is 3,000 miles away, and went and took over that stadium. We know they did it in Washington. Not surprising because the Commanders aren't very good, and their fans are pretty frustrated, even though they're having a nice year. But yesterday, I thought at the start of the game, it was really a Giants crowd. That they came, they backed their team, they gave you a couple crowd shots on TV. Didn't see a lot of green. Eventually, you did, as the Eagles went up 21-0 before you could blink. And then, the Giant fans were sitting on their hands and making no noise whatsoever. But from the kickoff yesterday, comparing what the Eagle fans usually do on the road, how loud were they? Were Giant fans 80%, 75%, 90%? What do you think the crowd was at the kickoff yesterday?
I thought it was somewhere around at kickoff. I thought it was around like 80-20. I don't know if people got stuck on the outer lanes of the turnpike. I don't know if they were going around looking like, oh, there's the New York City skyline. Let me take a couple pictures before they came in and to watch the game. But it was a very, very quiet. It was a very pro Giants crowd early. Then obviously when the game got out of hand, all of a sudden you saw how many like remaining Eagles fans were down there because they started to go down toward the lower level. So I'd probably say at kickoff, I'd probably say it's about an 80-20 crowd. But it definitely filled in toward the end of it.
An Eagles crowd over the course of the game because of the way the game was going. Exactly.
I joked, Chris, the Giants PA announcer had tremendous energy at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah.
He had Zach Berman-like energy, I like to call it. And
good morning, everybody.
Yeah, he was fired up. And after that third touchdown, it went way down. I mean, way down. That pretty much sums up the crowd. Same thing with the crowd. Yeah. I mean, Giants fans are good for the first time or in the mix for a playoff berth for the first time in a long time. So people weren't giving up their tickets. And number one, I'm glad to see you back from that blizzard after the game.
Oh my
man, it's always something when we go up there. Always something. Always something when we go up there. But it was a dominant performance to the point where I was telling Jody, he's asking, how did Kayvon Wallace play? I mean, it was all garbage time after 21-0. It really was.
Yeah, it was a weird feel. Like I pretty much have most of my story already written like halfway through the fourth. It was crazy in that way too. They got that way, but if this is a lead into the Kayvon Wallace one, yeah, I'm a little worried about Reed Blankenship right now because I think when you look at the way, I think you saw Kayvon player as a complete player, what he is as a player. He's really good against the run. He's really good at stopping players, run games in the box and being part of that. But when it comes to the pass game, he sells out so much, stop the run. He becomes a liability in the pass game. And if I'm the Bears right now, if I'm Eberflus, like being a defensive minded guy that Eberflus is, I'm telling like, hey, you see what this guy is doing right now? Make sure you attack him. If Blankenship somehow is not able, if it's a long term or he's done for the year. I mean, I have some concerns with that safety position now until you get Gardner Johnson back.
Yeah, January 1st, by the way, first day CJ can be back. Yeah, just wanted to throw that in there.
And have you guys seen either one of you guys seen him down at the Eagle facility? I know they are very tight-lipped about Eagle injuries, and everyone in the NFL is. This is not an indictment of the Eagles. Everybody keeps their injury information under wraps. Has anybody seen Gardner? Are we optimistic that he's going to be back after the Cowboy game?
I
have not seen him. No, he has been kept away from us. So, pretty serious injury, but history says he will be back this season. But there are varying degrees. So we bring up Zach. Zach Ertz missed 1 week with a lacerated kidney and a dislocated rib. Now, it was a playoff game he came back for. But there are different varying degrees of that injury. And obviously, the Eagles are being very cautious in the regular season. But I do expect him back this season. I don't think it's a season. Now, Reed, there's some concern that that's a season-ending injury, and we hope not. Well, I don't know if we're going to hear it today, but I don't think he's going to be out there in Chicago. Let's put it that way.
I don't think he is, and I don't think Aaron Siposs. We were looking at Aaron Siposs in the locker room yesterday. He was on a walking boot and on crutches too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a busy week for us. I know. It's all of a sudden. I know we talk about we're football guys, and we have to be ready on the crime beat. Thankfully, not for this team, but when you look at it now, it's like we're becoming doctors now. All of a sudden, with all these injuries piling up.
All right, if you're going to be doctors, then I'm going to ask you to judge somebody's character as well. Eagles are probably going to need a new punter.
No.
You do realize that this week charges were dropped against the punt god Matt Ariza, who was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. The story broke once he was already in camp that he and his friends were being accused of sexual advancement with a woman. They did their investigation. They found out this week that there wasn't enough to sustain a charge against him. The Bills didn't wait. They didn't care. They released him immediately. Eagles going to need a punter, and this guy is as good as anybody else just in purely punting that's out there available at this time. Will the Eagles deal with all the questions that come with a guy like Matt Ariza?
I wouldn't sign up for two reasons, and one's football related, one's not football related. I'll start a non-football related one. You don't need that distraction right now when it comes to your punter of all people and it's his team, because right now we know you have a well-oiled machine right now. The Eagles are rolling. The locker room is doing okay, and there's not really any distractions. I think the only distraction he had was beforehand was this is him going undefeated, and we know that's not going to happen now. So to bring a guy who's going to be on the field, you hope, maybe only the whole field.
He's never on the field, by the way. I said, I'm disappointed Aaron got hurt. And by the way, that was a nice run, Chris. But I mean, I wasn't that concerned. I'm like, Jake's done it in the past, and they're not going to have to punt that much. So
you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
and then I think he's more of a power punter than he is like a finesse one and putting it in 20. And we know he's going to outkick that coverage. You just look at he's going to outkick the coverage, and we've seen what's happened with the special teams too.
Yeah, Tennessee did. Yeah, that kid can kick the ball too, and he just outkicked his coverage. But that's a Jeffrey Lurie decision, literally. I mean, nobody else. That's not Howie Roseman. That's one of those that goes in. Same thing when we talked about Deshaun Watson. That's a Jeffrey Lurie decision. Same thing with Matt Ariza. Now, I think there's enough punters on the street. The Eagles work some out occasionally on those Tuesday workouts. They have a file of guys available. I don't think it's going to be Matt Ariza. I don't.
No. Yeah, far. I think it's far from it. He'll get. I think he'll get a job next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in the league. But I think he's going to let him cool down a little bit and then go again.
Yeah. But I like your thought on the distraction. Not needed for a guy who maybe, because the offense is so good, maybe he's out there twice a week. I mean, and they go for it so much on fourth down as well.
Yeah, it's unless if it was a guy like a wide receiver or impact guy, you'd have to still weigh it. Personally, I'm more of a stay away from guys that have that baggage around them. But usually for a specialist, no, you don't want to do that. And besides, those guys stay off to the side anyway. They have their own thing, their own routines. I wouldn't get for a punter.
Let me ask a fourth down question. Because John raised this earlier, and I saw the same thing on social media. The 4th and 7 completion down the sidelines to Devonta Smith. Yes, the safety could have gotten there, and he could have picked off the pass. Yes, the safety could have decided just to make Devonta Smith part of the second row of the stance if he wanted to. He didn't do either one. Devonta Smith caught the ball, took it into the end zone, and basically closed the game out at that juncture. Why do people look at the potential downside when it was the key play in the game. Perfect pass, by the way. Couldn't have been. If he had gotten out there and placed it with his hand, Jalen Hurts could not have thrown a more perfect pass to Devonta Smith on that play. Why do people have to look at the downside when it's already been played and the upside has been registered? Why did they even go there, Chris Franklin?
Because I think when you look at this and it becomes January and you think possibly February with this team, you're not gonna have Julian Love back there as safety. And I'll start that one. I don't know why. That's one of the things you take the 15. If I'm Julian Love, I'm sending a message early for the Giants. I'm taking out Smith if I can. If I'm a safety in that position, and you try to go for the pick, you should just knock it away, whatever. But that's a whole other story. But I think when you look at this, you try to project what it's going to be like, say, with another top tier safety back there, and I wouldn't have thrown that in that situation. I wouldn't have called that in that situation. That took cojones that I wouldn't have done anyway on that one. But I think it's one of those things. You just got to you got to worry about future teams and what happens with this. If this was, say, was a Super Bowl or something like that, and you have a better defense that you have to go against, and may not have been the play call I would have called there. I probably would stay conservative and just run the ball, and because then if you miss it, if it's incomplete, you just gave the Giants life, and they're potentially marching back the other way, even though their offense was sputtering. You never know. All it takes is one little mistake, and next thing you know, you give them life, and it's possibly a lot closer to what it was.
By the way, some good news. That's all we give you here on Birds 365.
Oh, we got an award?
No, from our buddy Mike Garafolo of NFL Media. Eagles received good news on Reed Blankenship's knee following scans today. Low-grade sprain, short-term injury, not a candidate for IR. So it's week to week, and I know there were some people yesterday throwing around those three letters that dare not we speak its name. A couple ACL throw around, so they were concerned about that after the game. Good news for Reed Blankenship and the Eagles because, they're banged up at safety.
Yeah, and they need it back. And if it's 2 weeks, if it's
we lost Jody, but go ahead, Chris.
No problem. If it's 1 week, I think you can live with it. And as long as it's 2 weeks, because you need the safety depth too. So when you look at the way, when you look at basically, if you go Kayvon, you can go Josiah Scott if you need to. I probably would have put him in there a little bit more than Kayvon, but I think overall, the fact that they get him back, they can still use their three safety looks, their three safety packages, and still use them effectively. And I think that's a big deal for the Eagles because he not only added value on the defensive side, he also was a pretty decent special teams player too. So they lucked out big time when it comes to that, and I'm very sure they're happy at the NovaCare Center when hearing that news.
A couple of major milestones met yesterday. Miles Sanders over 1,000 yards, first since Shady did it 2014. A.J. Brown 1,000 yards, first wide receiver to do it since Macklin 2014. Jalen Hurts 10 rushing touchdowns, Miles 11 rushing touchdowns. This historic pace that this offense is on right now, is this the best offense the Philadelphia Eagles have ever had?
I don't know. Those Frankfurt Yellow Jackets teams, we all were there. We saw them. They were just so dominant right now.
Franklin. Don't go Franklin Yellow Jackets. Give me one player in the Franklin Yellow Jacket.
I have no clue on that one. I have no clue on that. But the only way you can really think of looking at dominance-wise is looking like, say, those Steve Van Buren teams, 48 and 49. That's when you have to start going back that far. That's just it's crazy to think about. And you look at some of these, you even look at the Andy Reid offenses when you had all the way they were churning out sometimes in 04 especially.
This is a better offense than the T.O. Donovan offense.
Yeah. Well, I asked Nick that last week. I said, he's been around. He loves Phillip Rivers. You know that, Chris. He loved Andrew Luck. He's had some really good quarterbacks in his past, and he admitted he's never been this versatile as an offense. Dual threat quarterbacks, people have this old mentality that, they're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt. It's not sustainable. Maybe it isn't sustainable, but when it's working, it's freaking difficult to stop. I know that. And Jalen Hurts never takes big hits. He's very cognizant of he's very good. Some people don't have that knack for getting down when they need to get down. When they get out of bounds when they need to get out of bounds. I've seen him take maybe 2 or 3 big hits this year. They're usually in the pocket.
Yeah, and getting back to it, when you look at not that, it's to look at the balance that this team has. I think when you look at the way that you look at the way you stop the run, they can put 380 on you. If you pass and start worrying about AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, they're going to run down your throats. I think that's the balance is what's impressed me, and also decision making of Hurts was into when John, what you talked about when he came to hits too, because he's got that feel for a game, and when you're a quarterback and you get that, you're in sync with everything that's going on. You start seeing that coverage. Everything starts getting a lot easier for you, and I think he's just really in tune right now. To me, he's the MVP of the league right now. He's playing that way, and it just goes down from his decision making all the way to his throws to his running ability.
Did we freeze up Jody? I think we got a frozen Jody Mac tone. Is he frozen for you, Chris?
Hey,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was. I was saying, hey, Jody, look.
It's always with streaming. I never know if he's frozen for me, but he's talking to you. It's one of those things. But we'll power through it. The defense doesn't get a lot of love because of the explosion of the offense. We just talked about the superstars, Jalen Hurts, potential MVP. AJ Brown has been just unbelievable for this team. Dallas Goedert's coming back. I thought they would have a problem replacing Grant Calcaterra. Hey, let's get Grant Calcaterra involved. Let's game plan for Grant Calcaterra. But this defense, and especially this front, I think it starts there. But I also want to give some love to TJ Edwards, because TJ Edwards, man, he's good friends with TJ Watt, the TJs in the offseason. And they both work out together. And from day one, TJ's remade his body. So people always go back to, he ran a 4.87 and whatever it was his pro day. He can't cover. He covers everybody. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. Why can't people put these sort of narratives and put them down and say, hey, you know what? People do improve. People do get better.
Well, I think a lot of it is first impressions, and when you see a guy like TJ versus the guys, say who's coming out of like Georgia or like say Dean or something like Nakobe Dean or something like that. When first seeing it, it's about first impressions, and everybody's first impressions with him is, wow, he's just a plotting linebacker who can't cover, and people forget, like you mentioned, people forget that how well some of these guys can work. You can learn stuff over time. And he's really impressed me when they go that Tampa 2 look, or they tell him to go cover that deep part of the middle of the field. We saw it in the beginning of training camp this year, all the way through now. He's been deflecting passes left and right in the middle of it. It's making it tougher. You got to put some touch on that middle of the field. And they got a tough decision to make. I mean, you got Dean Wade, and you got to make a decision which linebacker you're going to sign away. Because you got TJ Edwards who's playing a high level. I like Kaiser White the way he's playing. I think he's playing a high level on the outside as well too, and covering some of the running backs and helping out on the edge. So they got this offseason is going to be tough for them. But I think overall TJ Edwards is making a very, very good case for him to remain in the middle.
And a guy I was rooting for yesterday, and I checked my wagering outlets. They don't offer interceptions. I wanted to bet James Bradbury to get an INT yesterday in the worst way, because we've seen the Eagles' revenge tour work pretty well this year, guys stepping up against their former team. I said, for sure, Bradbury's going to get an INT, and I was ready to wager on it. They didn't offer it where I was looking, which would actually save me some money. I thought Bradbury played well again, made a couple of plays on the ball. They didn't throw at him all that much, probably smart on the Giants' part, but he didn't come up with an INT. How do you not resign him? If he's your key guy, do you just let him walk away?
See, the things I want to know is how much. First, I think you have to, because when it comes to outer edge, I don't see a corner in the top 5 in the draft where the rule says are going to be picking. I don't see a corner there that I'm thinking like he is worthy of that pick. I'm looking more Will Anderson, but it's going to be tough. The one thing that the Eagles have in their benefit is that it looks like the cap's going to increase a decent amount with that new TV deal. So it gives you some flexibility and a better chance to do so. I just don't know. I think it's going to be one of those, somebody. I just really think somebody's going to come out of nowhere and just offers a crazy amount of money, just because we all know it's tough to find a good cornerback, and the way he's able. I think he's among the league leaders in passes defended. He's among the league leaders
unbelievable year.
yeah, QB rating against is tough, and teams are going to see that. Somebody's going to offer him a lot of money.
And let me run one more guy by you. What do you do about BG? He has the big day yesterday. Now he's getting 8.5 sacks. He could get 10 sacks. You would love to think he'd want to come back and be an Eagle for his entire career. Do you try and get him on a hometown discount? Do you potentially run the risk of watching him walk out of town if you don't give him a fair market value? And your evaluation of fair market, mine, could be different than Howie Roseman's and Brandon Graham's. We all might agree to disagree, but how do you not bring BG back after the kind of year that he's having? What if there's another team that says, yeah, we'll pay him above and beyond market rate? Because look at what this guy's got left in the tank. We could use a motivator like a Brandon Graham in our locker room. What happens when he hits free agency?
See, I know Howie's not going to sign everybody because he learned his lesson from the 2017 team. Excuse me, from the 2017 team. But I think it's one of those guys. I think the Eagles also learned a lesson when they let Brian Dawkins walk. And Graham's going to have a role in this organization no matter what, I think, or in the media in this area when it's all said and done. But I think this team learns that, you know what, keep him around for another year, because this team might be very young next year with all those free agents. You might have backfill it with a lot of draft picks, and you need guys to show what the Eagle, so quote unquote Eagle way. No, you have Patriots, but what the Eagle way is to do that. So I think it'll meet somewhere in the middle. There's I think it's a lot of edge rushers coming out there, but BG's going to get a decent amount. I think next year, especially 10, like he's going to get 10 sacks. I really think so. Even if he gets a straight hand one, like at the end of the season against the Giants, he's going to get his 10. But I think he'll be back, and it's going to be
he's enjoying the new role. And if there's one prediction I'm going to make, it's that Brandon Graham's going to be back. He doesn't want to leave. The Eagles don't want him to leave. It's their Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. He's a big part of this organization. And like Zach Berman, I mentioned, sets the energy for us, Chris Franklin. Brandon Graham sets the energy for the Eagles. They realize what he means to this organization. I think he's going to be one of the easiest getbacks because both sides want him to be back. You know, I since we're talking about the defense, I think it was D-Gun. It might have been Mike Missinelli. He asked me on the JAKIB Media postgame show last night. They asked me, who was the MVP of this defense? Who was the MVP of this defense? We know Jalen Hurts might be the MVP of the league, so it's kind of easy on the offensive side of the football with the importance. But you can make a case for Hassan Reddick. You can make a case for Javon Hargrave as interior pass rush. You can make a case for Slay. You can make a case for Bradbury. You could make a case for CJ, at least until he got injured, so he's kind of fallen off. But I just picked the guy we were talking about. I picked TJ Edwards. Who would be your pick?
I'm taking Slay, and the reason why I'm taking Slay is the fact that you can basically almost take half the field away. Well, you can. It's tough to throw against Bradbury too, but in fact, you can take that half away. Put him on a guy like Justin Jefferson. We saw what he did against that. Now that you know you're only operating with half a field, now you got to worry about you're trying to find the right way. Gannon puts guys in when he's on, he can put guys in the zones and floodles everything. It takes a lot of time for a quarterback to look in the area the opposite way. Teams know you're going to not going to throw it Slay, and that gives the pass rush a more time to go ahead and sack the quarterback and get pressure on him too, and cause those mistakes. So for me, what he's done not only on the field but as a captain too. I mean, we heard about Bradbury the way he talked about Bradbury made personal. He's energized. He's fit into that captain role very well. So I look at those two things overall, and I'm picking Slay to be the MVP in the defense.
Edwards would be my second choice, John, and it's really close. But yeah, I'm going Reddick. Do you realize that he played 86% of the snaps yesterday?
Yeah, he played a lot yesterday.
At defensive end, which is a rotational position, TJ Edwards only played 70-some-odd snaps. Reddick played 86% of the snaps. And he gets double-digit sacks, third straight year, third different team, never been done before in the NFL. The Eagles finished where in sacks last year in the National Football League?
31st.
Where are they
30th.
now?
Actually, 30th. They were tied for second to
Tied,
last.
okay.
So we'll give them
And where are they right now?
number one.
Number one. And
without blitzing, by the way, people. For the most part, they get home with
Reddick
4.
doesn't need help. He gets there by his guy.
They really got something going with that stunt they run with Hassan and Fletcher Cox on the left side. They really got something going with that. This team is so good. It's boring. I told
it's like a Madden team. It's like playing Madden on easy the last couple of weeks. It's like, okay, all right, you just roll wave after wave. It's like how he had the cheat code and just went there, start using free agency, he got rid of the salary cap, somehow found a way to get all these other guys. And that's key with Fletcher Cox, you mentioned. Look, you see the benefits of signing Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue because now he's not on the field as much and he's looked a lot like a completely different player too.
All right. I want to thank the Philadelphia Eagles for the last couple of weeks for blowing out their opponents because I got to kind of pay attention to the other games because I'm at CBS afterwards. So I have to talk about them as well. I go back and rewatch Eagles, but I don't have to watch every single play. And it was really easy yesterday when, as John said, it was 21-0. It was basically over. All right, Chris Franklin, looking ahead, Chicago Bears this week. I'm going to give you an under-over.
Okay.
Rushing yards by Justin Fields. This is one thing the Eagles haven't really faced this year. Taylor Heineke made a couple of plays with his legs, and that was the only game they lost. Daniel Jones is a quarterback run. Shoot, I didn't even notice until yesterday. He's now rushed for more yards this season than any Giant quarterback ever has. Well, the Giants have never really had a rushing quarterback, but give Daniel Jones at least that much credit. Justin Fields is the number one rusher in the NFL at the quarterback position. Averages 75 yards a game on the ground. So I'm going 74.5 Justin Fields rushing yards this Sunday against the Eagle defense. You going under or over?
I'm going under because I think they're going to mush rush it a little bit and control him and contain him in the pocket. And that's the case. You have to worry about Chase Claypool, Cole Kmet. I think the Eagles will do that. So I think they will.
I want to make a prediction on this, Jody. I'm gonna go way over. I'm gonna go way over 75, and I'm gonna say Eagles fans lose their mind because Justin Fields going to run for 120 or so.
Oh, 120! Holy crap!
I'll put a coffee bet on that
high.
Yeah,
I'll put a coffee bet on that.
Well, you know why? Because the Bears can't do anything else. And he just runs around, and he's so athletic. So he's going to break off 2 long runs. That's going to be 80 of it. People are going to lose their minds thinking they're going to see Justin Fields every week running around like a nut because they don't have an offensive scheme or an offensive game plan. And it's not going to matter in the big picture, but he's going to run for a lot of yards. Now, I don't know if he's healthy. I know he was banged up, so that's got to factor into it. But he's all they have. He's all they have.
Right. And other teams, I'm sure, have tried the mush rush against him, and he's gone for 900 yards. I don't know this great strategy by the defense coordinator will be in place. But I'll tell you why I might take under, because of something that Chris Franklin said earlier. Kayvon Wallace, good against the run. Kayvon Wallace, not so good in pass coverage, but he's good at coming in, giving assistance in the box. Maybe Kayvon gets a bunch of tackles and holds them under 75.
They have a Buddy Ryan offensive scheme.
Yeah.
All right. I got nothing. Justin, go do something. And it's usually a run. That's their offensive scheme.
Will be fun next week. Mr. Franklin, thank you as always for coming on board with us. We will talk to you after next Sunday's game, which was all right. One more percentage chance the Eagles win next week against the Bears. Whether Justin Fields goes for 70 or $120, Johnny Mack set the bar high. Either way, what's the percentage Eagles get to 13-1 now?
I'm going to go with 75 because the only reason I'm going to say 5, I don't know what the weather's going to be like, and if it's some freak snowstorm in the middle of it, I got to look at it. But if it's going to be sunny, clear, or something like that for it, I think it goes up to 90. But it's
maybe I jumped the gun, but he's all they have is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. The fact they came out with 9, it opened up at -9, and the Eagles were favored by 9. Yeah, it's the Eagles should.
Nine on the road is some respect. They're getting
At
some
C.
respect.
Franklin News, by the way. Follow Chris, NJ.com/Eagles. Does a tremendous job there and with us, by the way. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys very much. Y'all have a good one. The coffee bet's still on. Sorry.
There you go. Chris Franklin here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. My computer went down on me a couple times here, Johnny Mac. I disappeared. I like the Eagle defense, make people disappear.
Yeah,
Maybe
man.
they did that to me too. But I'm back, and we're coming back to put a